90th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Permission to read from a printed document from time to time?
Without objection.
Thank you so much. Whew, there's been a lot of platitudes on the floor today, quotes from previous leaders, political thought leaders, and I think it's important to level set of our current reality and make sure we are all coming from a place of shared value and shared understanding. Let's first recognize that it's workers that create wealth for our state and community, okay? It's their labor every day when they show up to the job to make sure that our economy is strong and has put us in the position, they have put us in the position that we are in right now. We have record low unemployment rates. In fact, in February, we hit a new record low of 2.7%. Our workforce labor participation sitting at 64.5%. Wisconsin continues to outperform other states across the country, and so it confuses me that I have colleagues here today that belittle and demean workers as if they are lazy. When in my community, what I see every single day is folks getting up every single day, wanting to be a part of a dignified living wage economy and a job that supports them and their family because they believe in giving back and taking care of one another, and they do that through their labor. And so when I was appointed to the Workforce Development Committee, I was really thrilled about the opportunity to continue to serve my community and the folks of Wisconsin to make sure that we uplift and pass interconnected solutions to meet employment needs, because that's actually the definition of workforce development. And I had to look that up, Mr. Speaker, because I was so confused while we were talking about benefits and taking away benefits as some sort of workforce solution when it's not. And as the author of the Economic Justice Bill of Rights, I'm particularly interested in securing and expanding economic security for working Wisconsinites, because this is a crisis, Mr. Speaker, that we've known for years. In fact, there was a report 5 or 6 years ago from the Badger Institute. By the way, the Badger Institute is on a quote here, an institute guided by the belief that competitive free markets, limited government, and private initiative and personal responsibility are essential to our democratic way of life. They put out, sounds pretty conservative to me. I don't necessarily love their guided belief, but I like their report here. Wisconsin, a blueprint for more workers, an overview of the labor force participation. And from that report, Mr. Speaker, they say in their conclusion, ultimately, it would be Wisconsin's goal to make it easy for people to find gainful employment and remove as many barriers as possible to holding a job. I agree. They outlined in here ways that we can support seniors and folks dealing with opioid epidemics, people who were formerly incarcerated, people who were living with a disability. So we have strategies and solutions that are backed up by some of the greatest thinkers and economists in the state. And yet none of them have said, oh, by the way, we should take away unemployment benefits because that's how somehow going to change the labor workforce. We have about 113,000 jobs that are open, more than what we have workers. So if we are going to continue facing this crisis, we better change our thinking, Mr. Speaker. We better get with the program. Childcare continues to be the number one barrier. Mr. Speaker, I woke up this morning and I was having coffee with my children. They were getting ready to go to school, and I opened up the Green Bay Press-Gazette, and there was a massive article in here, and the title is Program Cuts Spark Fear and Concern. A lengthy article about what Wisconsin working families are facing when they're trying to get back into the workforce, especially as it relates to childcare. Mr. Speaker, if I may read a few quotes from that article. This one comes from a woman who is in Assembly District 39. I don't see Representative Bourne here, but this is in his district. She says...
Will refrain to numbers only on the floor, please?
Sorry. Assembly District 39, the representative. For us, childcare counts has been able to make us stable in the sense that I don't have to worry how I'm going to make ends meet. Because I know we're going to be supportive, I'm still conscious of every penny that is spent. There was another person in the same Assembly District 39, Mr. Speaker, Melissa Beal, who was a 2-year-old. And she says, the grim honesty of it is I probably will not be able to handle not having childcare. And if I don't have it, I'll have to leave my career or ask my husband to, Mr. Speaker. These are people who are in the labor workforce, working families now, who are at risk of losing their ability to have in the workforce. I had a mom today sent me a story about her challenges. Mr. Speaker, we have to be honest. This is not about left or right. This is about supporting working families. And if working people with children do not have access to childcare, they cannot get back into the workforce and stay there. Our economy depends on them. They want to work on behalf of the state. Let's help them do it. That's what we were sent here to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The vote is no.
Representative from the 78th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask unanimous consent to lift the leave for the gentlelady from the 76th.
Representative from the 78th asks unanimous.
Permission to read from a printed document from time to time.
Without objection.
Thank you. I will make this quick. Mr. Speaker, I was preparing my comments for floor today, and I remembered that I already spoke on this last session because this bill came through last session and never made it into law because it's a bad bill. We already do, DWD already has a process in place for the issues that have been raised by my colleagues on the other side of the aisle today. And we have basically been doubling down. You all have been in the majority party now for, I'm sorry, in my opinion, I'm just going to say it, unfortunately, over 10 years. We can, I know you feel differently about being in the majority, but you all have doubled down on these. You've been going after the state's unemployment insurance program for over 10 years. In 2011, you approved a law that requires those thrown out of work to wait a week before they can claim benefits. In 2012, you approved a law that prevents claimants from receiving benefits if they don't do a work search. In 2013, you expanded the requirement to search for work. In 2015, you passed a law requiring those seeking unemployment benefits to take a drug test. This never went into law, but you still passed it. And in 2015, you increased the number of situations in which someone can be denied benefits for refusing a job offer. Mr. Speaker, none of these efforts by your party have done anything to address the numbers that we're facing. And let me say this again, Mr. Speaker, we have 112,000 more jobs than we have people. Folks, the numbers don't add up. We can continue to stand here and say, what about the employer? What about the employer? There aren't enough people. And the people that are searching for work, the ones that are being caught up in this bill, are facing the same barriers to get to the stinking interview that they are to even get back in and remain in the workforce. I had a mother reach out to me. I reached out to some constituents and I said, tell me about the barriers that you face with UI. And I had a mother reach out to me and she said she desperately wants to get back into the workforce, but the childcare facility that she has lined up doesn't align with the hours of the job that she was recently offered because the job went through dinner time and she had to turn it down. And it's just one example of the things that working people are facing. And I would be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if I didn't share with you that it is incredibly disheartening to hear the comments from my colleagues today talking about these people and who qualifies for what. The role of government is for us to expand the rights and freedoms of every Wisconsinite in this state. Economic laws are made by us. They are not dictated by God or some higher power. And we know we face a workforce shortage. So if we want to expand economic security for workers, let's get to it. Because all I've seen, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sorry, but all I have seen from your party is a doubling down on things that attack workers, lift up only the voices of employers, and give massive tax breaks to corporations and billionaires. You guys want to talk about...
from the 90th, you can finish up your comments.
Can I say one last thing? Mr.
Please.
Speaker, There's a lot of talk on this floor today about fraud and giveaways and who's taking from the system. But we don't talk about how we give away mass wealth to those who already have mass wealth. And I'll remind you, in 2017, there was an agreement by then Governor Scott Walker to give $3 billion of our state subsidies with an agreement on a napkin to a Taiwanese billionaire. We need to reframe who we're here to serve. I'm here to serve the people of this state. I'm here to serve the working people that are facing incredible barriers. They're asking us to get to work with them. For them, Mr. Speaker, this vote is red. Thank you.
Assembly Bill